Hello again, everybody. Hopefully you're able to hear me now. Just checking in here. Let's see. I don't know what happened. I think technology is just working against us today. I was over here talking away, and then all of a sudden it ended, and then somebody told me that I wasn't being heard for a couple minutes. So let's try this again. Let's just give it a second here and see if we can make sure people are signing on. So my apologies. It also took me a minute to figure out exactly where it left off. So hopefully we're back up and running now. Okay, looks like we might be up and running. So I'm going to dive back in. And it looks like we left off somewhere on this slide. So we already talked about phytoplankton who are floating at or near the surface, getting all of that sunlight. Whales are sometimes feeding down below, but they always have to come up to the surface where the phytoplankton are because they can't poop under pressure. And hopefully you guys all think of this song now too every time you think about whale poop, because we definitely do. Like I said, it's sort of become a tradition on the boats. And so as these whales are pooping near the surface where all this phytoplankton is, the phytoplankton are photosynthesizing. And so as they're doing that, they are giving off oxygen as a byproduct. And obviously that oxygen is really important for us. That is what we all need to survive, to continue breathing and walking every day like we do. So it is a very important part of this process. All of these components are important in different ways. The other thing to make note of here too is that when these plants are photosynthesizing, they are absorbing sunlight, but also carbon dioxide. And so they are eliminating a whole lot of carbon from the atmosphere. And if anyone is generally familiar with the issue of climate change, you'll know that the carbon that's in the atmosphere is a big contributor to that problem. So the more oceanic plants we have that are absorbing this carbon dioxide through photosynthesis, the more it's pulling carbon out of our atmosphere and helping to just regulate our environment. So tying this all together, we refer to whales as ocean gardeners for the important role that they play in fertilizing those oceanic plants known as phytoplankton. And it's just a really critical role all around in terms of keeping our planet healthy and balanced. So another component to all of this is has to do with where we find whales in the ocean. And so this map with all these different colored dots here are just some of the places where whales have been seen. And so they are what we call cosmopolitan, which means that they can be found in all of the world's oceans. But these whales are not staying in one place. The ocean is huge and they can pretty much go wherever they want to go, but certain whale populations tend to follow certain migratory patterns. And this primarily is seen in the large whales, the baleen whales, so species like humpback whales, blue whales, gray whales, fin whales. These are all whales that take on long distance migrations. And so just to highlight the humpbacks here, again, they are found in all of the world's oceans. So depending on where they are, they're following a migratory route like you are hopefully seeing here, if this graphic is working. So it's an annual migration and it can be thousands of miles that they're traveling. And this whole time that they're taking on these migrations, they are continuing to poop as long as they have food in their system that they are digesting and processing. So as they're traveling hundreds or thousands of miles, they are taking those nutrients with them and releasing them into other parts of the ocean to help fertilize other areas. So on a global scale, these whales are really having a really significant impact. And just to kind of put this in context for anyone who isn't aware that our planet is made up of roughly 70% ocean. So more than half of the planet is ocean, which means that these large areas that are filled with phytoplankton and other oceanic plants are a primary resource in our environment. And so they play a really critical role, and the plants that you see on land, obviously those are the ones that we're more familiar with, but the plants that are in the ocean have a very, very important role to play as well. So this is my reminder to you that, as we said earlier, about half of the oxygen that we have available to us comes from the ocean. And so that equals out to about every other breath that you take is coming from the ocean, and that's happening because there are whales out there pooping in the ocean. So let's take a second here. I want everybody to take 2 deep breaths and think about that and thank a whale for your second breath. Okay, when I'm in a school and I'm doing this part of the presentation, I actually ask the kids to say out loud, "Thank you, whales," to really drive that point home that we do rely on whales, and we need them to be out there doing what they're doing in order for us to be able to continue to survive. And so this kind of all wraps up in the message that we convey as WDC. And one of the main reasons why we exist is because when we save the whales, we're actually saving the whole world and making it a more sustainable place for us all to live. So save the whales, save the world. And in this crazy time that we're living through right now with everything that's going on, hopefully this is a little bit of reassurance that no matter what's happening in our world, the whales are still out there pooping right now as we speak, and that natural process is continuing. So we want to make sure we have plenty of whales out there that can continue to poop. All right, so I would be remiss if I didn't give a couple of quick shout outs here. And any of our regular followers may know that here at WDC, our #2 passion is dogs. We have a couple of office dogs here, but there's a couple of other dogs who are also really important to us as well. So I'd like you to meet Iba here. She is a member of the team at Conservation Canines. And so they have a whole team of people and dogs who go through extensive training and a lot of time out at sea working through this process. And these dogs are actually trained to sniff out whale poo. And so the reason why they're training these dogs to do that is because there is a lot of really important information that we can learn from collecting whale poo. So we can figure out things like the hormone levels in whale poo, and that would give us an indication of the whale's overall health. If we're able to see how much there is, we're able to get a feel for the nutritional value and how much these whales are eating. And so all of these factors are really important and go into a lot of the conservation efforts that are in place. So having dogs out there sniffing out the whale scat, and Iba here is part of the Southern Resident Orca Scat Project. And so having them sniff it out, they are helping researchers to be able to collect those samples and get all of that really valuable information. So big shout out to Iba. She's been a great part of the team, as I understand, and she's out on the West Coast helping with those Southern Resident Orcas, like I mentioned. Over here on the East Coast, there was a project through the New England Aquarium doing a similar thing. And so here is Fargo, the Rottweiler, who was trained to sniff out poop from North Atlantic right whales, which, if any of our followers here are familiar, both of these species are endangered, or these populations are endangered. So it is really important that we have these programs in place, and we're grateful to our colleagues working at these organizations and with these programs to be able to carry out the really important work that they do. And so I have just one more slide here, but I'll start to ask now if anybody has any questions. Please feel free to dump them into the comments as we start to wrap up here. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions that you may have. But just as a last quick note, I don't know if you guys are in the same situation, but I know I've had a lot of friends and family who have had birthdays recently. And obviously, during this time of social distancing, we're not able to get together and celebrate. So, if you find yourself in need of a gift to be sent to somebody who's celebrating a birthday or anything really, we have a fun idea for you that you can send them whale poop. And of course, this is not actual whale poop. Technically, that would be illegal, and also really kind of gross. I don't know that anyone would actually want to receive it, but we have fake whale poop, and so these are little seed balls, that plantable seed balls that you can plant and grow. But we deliver it in this little bag here with some information covering everything that I talked about today, and just this process of whales pooping and why it's important. And so it's a fun little gift idea, be it gag gift or serious gift. We highly recommend it. It's always guaranteed to get a laugh. So you can find that at the link that's across the top of the page here. That is also the same place where you can adopt a whale if you choose to, or make a donation to support WDC's work. So that is all I have for you guys today, and I apologize again for the various technological issues that we had, but hopefully you were able to follow through and watch both parts of this video. We'll have to see after the fact if there's any way of joining them together, but hopefully everyone was able to catch this session, and hopefully you enjoyed everything. I'm relieved that we got through it eventually, even with just a few glitches and issues. But thank you for listening in. I am going to see if I can get back to the comments here to see if we have any questions coming through. So bear with me for a second here, but like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to dump them in the comments.